Hi everyone, welcome to this next episode of the Iksula Podcasts, and we're back after a little while. We weren't able to do a recording. We were and another episode for the last few weeks, but here we are again. And today I have two gentlemen with me. I have Eric, who has over 2 decades of experience working on with retail and technology, and I have Pralhad, who has about a decade's experience of working in the heart of e-commerce in terms of how the e-commerce operations work at the back end. So today we're going to talk about the US fashion industry broadly, and we'll also look at the global fashion industry to a certain extent. We want to what I want to talk about is where is the industry headed? How are certain trends like fast fashion impacting that? What are some of the things industry is doing from a sustainability perspective? And then technology and yes, the buzzword AI, how it's going to impact the industry. So before I get that, I'll request Eric to give a quick introduction about his experience and how his experience and his tenure with the fashion industry and his exposure to the industry has been. Eric, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Anurag. Happy to be here. Really excited to have this conversation with you guys. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I have been in technology and digital roles for most of my career, mostly with footwear and apparel companies like Adidas and Nike. I spent some time at VF Corporation, which is the parent company to Vans and the North Face and Timberland and a number of other brands, as well as Abercrombie and Fitch. I most recently was with a smaller luxury retailer, but like I said, um, lots of experience in this space. Started early in my career. I started out in kind of core technology roles, more infrastructure and user computing focused. Then started to move more into the retail space, as well as the e-commerce space during my time at Adidas and Nike. So, happy to share my experiences along the way. But I think, what I've learned throughout my career, and I know a lot of you probably have the same sorts of experiences. Is this space is ever changing. It's
Mhm.
always looking to kind of reinvent itself. There are certainly some core tenets that hold true, like customer experience, like solid operations, and performant and reliable technologies. But at the same time, it's an area that stays exciting because it's always looking to be innovative and looking to what's next from a customer and retailer standpoint.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those industries where seasons actually matter because you've got 3 or 4 seasons in a year, and then you've got special events, and then you have themes, and you've got sporting events. So yes, I think there is a lot of excitement that comes in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
And I think I was looking at the numbers, and we are looking to do about $350 billion and thereabouts as apparel industry in the US this year in 2024, and about 30 to 40% of that is online retail and fashion. I think am I getting my numbers correct, Eric?
Yeah, that's what I've read as well. I
Mm.
know, obviously, the last couple of years in the U.S. market have been a bit challenging for retailers. Growth has slowed, obviously, because of overall economic conditions, both domestically here in the U.S. as well as globally. But there are still some examples of retailers winning that I've seen, and look forward to talking about what they're doing here with you guys today. But yeah, that's the overall economic conditions have definitely created some headwinds for retailers.
Got it, got it. And if we were to look at, let's say, for the next 3 years, uh, what is the growth prospect looking for the entire industry? And if you do a little bit of slicing in the industry, let's look at sectors like maybe luxury wear versus athleisure versus formals, and then the fast fashion. So, which of these sectors are seeing momentum versus which of these sectors are struggling? Any views in that?
Sure, sure. I know up until recently, luxury was still succeeding. There were a lot of luxury customers who were immune to the economic headwinds. But I know that, and while there's still some winners there, I know they've also experienced some recent challenges and some slowed growth. If you look overall to the market and the segments you mentioned, I might also throw in the resale market as another one to pay attention to. But I know customers certainly have, from a product category standpoint, have flocked to the more casual. Athleisure is one area, and just kind of more casual segments. Some of that has been because people are working from home more and not going into the office, and obviously working from home, they're dressing more casually. So that's one. The athleisure space, I think, a number of brands have capitalized on the idea of comfortable clothing that you might either wear just as your everyday wear, or that you might actually take and do some activities with. And I know there are a number of brands who've even created their own athleisure lines that wouldn't be traditional. Abercrombie is one of those, and it's just kind of taking off for them. But I know, the Lululemon has had some success, and I think a lot of people are trying to copy what they've done. So that's an area. I mentioned resale, especially with the Gen Z customer and some of the younger customers. They've really looked to kind of the thrift store market, both online with businesses like Depop, and offline in a number of different areas. Buffalo Exchange is one of those that I think has done okay, and a number of other resale areas where they're comfortable buying lightly worn clothes at a discounted price. And I think what retailers are learning and can learn from that is that their participation in that could be more direct versus indirect, and more direct meaning resale of their own clothing directly to a customer. So I think that those are some key areas. I think probably the other thing to pay attention to in the next couple of years is how does that evolve. You mentioned fast fashion, and fast fashion is also one that can be a little bit controversial in terms of
It is.
impact that businesses like a Shein or a Temu have on sustainability and have on the environment. And I know people like the idea of less expensive clothing, things that they can wear for a short period of time and then do something with. But I know for the younger customer that those businesses have really had a little bit of a negative opinion, again, just because of their impact on the overall market, because of some of their tactics in terms of manufacturing. I know the broader global market, there are some markets that are probably less concerned about that. But if we're talking about the U.S. market specifically, I know that the voices that I've heard speak out about this have really expressed some concern about their business practices.
Got it. Got it. And if we were to look at these growth trends and look at what customers are asking for, so the way I have always been wondering is, we had these very large department stores and apartment and apparel, whether it was the brand chains or independent retailers retailing these multiple brands, and then we had this whole online thing come in, and the digital commerce just exploded over the last 4 or 5 years, especially during the COVID times. But now, how are customers? What are customers asking for? I mean, how do they want to shop? What are those customer journeys looking for? What are the customers looking specifically in their choice of brands? How are they evaluating those brands? Are they looking more, let's say, for sustainability? I mean, we did speak quickly about fast fashion and the pros and what's working and what's not working there. But from a buying journey perspective, where do these stores stand versus where does digital commerce stand? And how are they coming together?
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think I would start first just by how do customers like to shop, and I think I would answer it like this: on their terms, in a way that's flexible and easy to shop online to offline or offline to online. That seamless journey I think is really important. If I think about my own journeys or those that I've seen from people that I talk to,
Mhm.
um, the the mindset of the customer is not, okay, I'm shopping in online, and I understand that this is online and there might be a difference between online and in store. They think of it as, I'm shopping at a brand or I'm shopping at a store, and I expect that it's easy to move from one channel to the other. So I think that's an um, important thing to establish, is that the customer expects it to be easy and seamless, and I
Mhm.
use the term frictionless as well. In terms of how they like to interact with brands, they like brands who speak directly to them and their needs. The mass appeal or the mass way of the past of brands and retailers speaking to a customer are kind of gone.
Mhm.
And how does that translate? Well, it translates from an online perspective into areas that you might call personalization. I know that that's an often thrown out their topic. But I would boil it down to, when a customer is shopping, they want content and product that's presented to them that they would expect to be presented to them. And as they're browsing and searching, they want that to be easy to find the things that they're looking for. And those retailers that have done it well have been able to predict that. They've used technology investments to understand kind of browse behavior, maybe even past shopping behavior, and then translate that into a presentation on the site that is really directed at that customer type, what they're thinking that customer is looking for. And so search and browse have to really be tailored to the individual. If that then translates to offline,
Mhm.
what I would say is, those retailers that are really good at that offline experience have those same sorts of principles in mind.
Okay.
When you enter into a store, you feel welcomed into the store. You feel that it's easy to find the product that you're looking for. If it doesn't happen to be in the color or size that you're looking for, it's easy for that retailer to help you find it, either online on their website or in another store or at another location. And it's not rocket science. It sounds really simple to do, but there are a number of retailers who miss that mark because they're only thinking, say about that channel or about that store. They
Mhm.
miss the opportunity to engage in the customer who expects it to be, hey, I'm shopping with you and I expect it to be across your enterprise. Probably one last thing that I would throw out there, and this is certainly a discussion that's broader than just 2 or 3 minutes. But the other thing that I would throw out there is that the mass department store of the past is having to reinvent itself to speak directly to that customer. The leverage that they have is that they have multiple brands and they have different product offerings, and they can reach a wide number of customers. But the customer often gets overwhelmed, or they often are not interested in the journey that is trying to find the product they're looking for through a sea of hundreds and hundreds of brands and product types. So those larger department store retailers, like a Macy's, for example, are really thinking about, how do they narrow the store experience itself
Mhm.
and still keep that ethos that's a core part of how they run their business, from a product and brand offering. I know Macy's has closed a number of their larger stores, and they're opening in smaller kind of street side types of stores that are a little bit of a more boutique feel, but still have some of those same sorts of tenants in mind. So, I think it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over the next couple of years, and how the big department stores, who certainly have had challenges recently, their businesses are either shrinking or they're growing, but barely. Um, but as they start to think about how they evolve and stay competitive, it'll be interesting to
Mhm.
see what they go.
I mean, that's a very interesting observation. I think a very interesting phenomena which is happening in the industry, because what I also see is that we talk about personalization from a digital angle, and we do talk about that personalized messaging. You also said that brands and retailers should be speaking to the consumer. That's what they want. And at some point, These large unwieldy formats where it's more like go figure out yourself. We have put everything on the floor, you go figure out yourself. That model is going away. Even in physical retail, even in brick and mortar, customers are being becoming a lot more demanding for attention.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. The idea, and I know my own shopping experiences. I observe a lot of retailers in my free time, and I do it from the lens of what can I learn.
Hmm.
I also talk to a lot of people, both on the retailer side to see what they're hearing, and on the customer side. But that experience of being overwhelmed with high stacks of product, not really clear messaging about the product, not any assistance in terms of guiding that customer through that journey. Yeah, those are it. It's been often talked about over the
Hmm.
years, but it's been hard for retailers to change that, slow to change that. It definitely is, as you say, going away. Um, but that kind of slow progression towards a more personalized experience, both online and offline, has been one that I know retailers are challenged with. And I mentioned right at the outset, some retailers have been really successful with that. They've kind of
Hmm.
rapid changed. They've made some strategic investments, both on the business and operations side as well as on the technology side, to change that sort of approach. And they've
Hmm.
been successful. These last couple of years, those who've done that have really seen a connection with their customer, and they've seen customers start to flock to their stores and their website because of the way that they're approaching that customer journey.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. So let me put a question and also share my thoughts. So what we are seeing in the India market is that fashion e-commerce or digital commerce in fashion is kind of stagnating right now. The reason that is they've gone and captured their the possible customer segment. They've gone and captured that. They're facing challenges on profitability. I mean, very. I don't think there's anybody in India, Indian fashion e-commerce, who's profitable, and they are facing pressure from the investors to become more profitable. They are facing challenges, obviously, on returns and everything. While the offline fashion is growing faster than the online fashion industry. So we have something called a Zudio, which is part of a larger Tata Group company, and they have grown much faster than their parent retail, which was that traditional self-brand larger format stores. These are smaller format stores, and they're growing much faster over the last 3 to 4 years. So that's the trend what we're seeing here. Now, what's happening in the US? Is it still that the offline is growing faster, or the online retail is growing, still outpacing the growth of offline?
I'm glad you mentioned that, and I would say my comments are probably global in nature, with a little bit of specifics to the U.S. Uh, the retailers that I've worked for over the years and those that I stay in contact with are global in nature. There are definitely differences market by market, but what I have seen. Is obviously there was the spike of online shopping through the pandemic, and that is something that if you look at that spike, it's understandable that the online businesses would slow down from that spike, and people would start to come back in stores open up, etc.
Mhm.
But I think at the end of the day, people still enjoy the physical experience of shopping,
Right.
whether that's interacting with the people that they go into the store with, friends or family or what have you, and kind of sharing that experience, getting feedback as they're trying things on, etc. I think people still enjoy that, and I think that's common regardless of market. Um, I don't think that that's something that will go away. I think from now until I don't know, foreseeable future. It's hard to predict the future, but foreseeable future,
Yeah.
people will always want that kind of physical interaction, that physical experience. Um, and that coupled with the fact that they're now, you know, over the last couple of years, they've been able to go back into the stores. They've been able to kind of shift their behaviors towards that physical experience, has allowed retailers to grow that channel more than they had obviously through the pandemic. And that coupled with what we talked about earlier in terms of kind of the push to reinvent themselves, I think retailers have said, hey, we can do this in a little bit of a different way. And they've started to open up stores just because there's larger demand, open up stores because there's new experiences that they want to create in those stores. I know Nike, for example, has a number of different types of experiences that they've launched through different store types. And I think that's a product of them thinking about the customer type that they have out there and the customer type that they want to reach, and then creating experiences that reach those customers. But Nike's not the only one. There's a number of retailers out there who've thought about different store footprints and different store formats, and launched those again to meet the demand as well as the changing experience.
Got it. And I think if you were to summarize this very quickly, brick and mortar is not going away. Brick and mortar is gonna
Brick and
grow.
mortar not going away. Yeah, brick and
It's gonna
mortar
thrive.
not go away. Again, at the end of the day, we're all humans. We like that physical interaction with things and with people. We like to be able to talk to people. We like to be able to pick product up, physically try it on. And yeah, you can replicate that a little bit in the digital world, and people like the capabilities that the digital world brings about. But there's still something about that, like the visceral experience that you get by being in a physical store, that I don't think will ever go away.
Yep. And I think it's going to thrive. What we're seeing is it's going to thrive, and the digital is going to become one of the channels and enriches the overall experience rather than replacing the brick and mortar.
I think
Absolutely.
if it enhances your overall experience,
Uh-huh.
you're going to see success. If it
Absolutely.
if your approach is replace or maybe try and replicate what you have online in the store, I think maybe you lose the mark. But if you're saying it's going to enhance the overall brand experience, we're going to create some new and interesting, maybe unique things in the physical space, and some new interesting and unique things online. I think then you're going to see some success.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. I mean, we're very keen on seeing what happens in the next, let's say, 12, 18 to 24 months. And coming to that, what do you think is top of the mind for retailers and brands as challenges, something that we need to solve? These are going to be our growth drivers, let's say, for the next 18 to 24 months window. I mean, what are those
Sure.
three things they're focusing on?
Yeah. I might start with channels, and then I'll go into a little bit of technology. Obviously, being technologists, I think that
That
we
was
all
going to
talk
be my
about
follow-up.
technology.
So,
So, yeah, channels though. So I know we talked about some differences in terms of businesses online to offline, but
hmm,
we haven't talked a whole lot about social. Obviously, social channels are important. Obviously, the younger customers. Do more of their interactions and even shopping on social channels like an Instagram or like a WeChat or like uh, you know a number of different
TikTok.
other kind of social
TikTok, yeah.
platforms. Yeah, right. TikTok's an important one that I know even my own children use quite a bit. And brands are recognizing that, and they're creating a presence on those social channels. And I think, in terms of the way a brand shows up there's going to be some similarities to the way that they show up in other areas online or offline, but there are also some differences. Some of those differences obviously are the convenience,
Hmm.
maybe the access to different types of content. I
Hmm.
think TikTok is a great one where brands are creating some content to draw the customer in. And if they then translate that into a shopping journey, I think that's a great way to connect that kind of demand and desire from the customer and the way that the brand is talking to them. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I do think that you guys mentioned TikTok. I do think that there's a lot of evolution happening in TikTok and a lot of great innovation and and brands are doing some great things to reach customers there and creating some really kind of fun, interactive, even funny types of content. So I'll be anxious to see where that goes. Um, I mentioned
Quick
technology.
question, Eric. Quick
Yeah, sure.
question on the channels because it just came to my mind. I was surfing. I was looking at Instagram this morning, and this kind of popped in my head. So we see a lot of D2C brands using social channels to engage with their customers, and obviously the content they create is good because they're creating is niche, is specialized because they carry a smaller product catalog. Where they're failing is keeping the experience at the same level once I decide to get to the website, maybe even make a purchase. So my consistent experience has been that once I make a purchase, then it's kind of a black hole for them where I'm usually getting and the point I was reading somewhere which triggered this question was the entire fulfillment is being done by the 3PLs, or there could be a logistics company which is doing the servicing. And if I don't like the product, returning it is a challenge. So I'm a little worried about ordering that product on from the brand side. If it's on Amazon, I'm far more relaxed because I know, you know what, if I don't like it, I can return it and I'll get my money back.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's your view? I mean, are D2C brands able to address that? Because while they use the social channels, or is their impact going to be very limited beyond a certain point?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. So the way that I think about this, and you're right, retailers are struggling to convert. If you look at uh, the, you know, the dollars that they're spending to drive traffic through
Yes.
social channels, and then if you look at the metrics, conversion through social channels is usually really low. And I've thought a lot about this, even in a couple of my previous roles. I spent some time testing different approaches to tackle this. But if I think about what retailers have done in the other channels that are a little bit more mature, you know, the traditional e-commerce channel and offline in stores, they have an infrastructure that's set up. They have capabilities that they've built. You know, you mentioned fulfillment. They have a fulfillment infrastructure that they've set up for those other channels.
Right.
The capabilities that they've built. They have a checkout flow. They have content. They have access to product. If they can figure out how to translate those things to a social experience, but still leverage that infrastructure that they've stood up, then
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can address some of those concerns that you mentioned, which are can I get the product in the time that I expect to get it? Is it easy to check out? Do I get the sort of messaging after purchase that I would expect? Those capabilities are already in place for those other channels. So it's important to not see social as something completely different, but as another store or another method of reaching that customer, but still
Mm-hmm.
leveraging those things that you've already built. And I think if you can do that, I think you see conversion go up. And again, I know I mentioned my last role was with a smaller luxury retailer, and we spent a lot of time making sure that that was a connected experience. And we did see positive impact in social conversion. It still was low compared to conversion in the other channels. It still was low in terms of total traffic that we drove there and total that we converted. But the progression that we saw was to just see it as another way of reaching the customer, but leveraging the things that we had already built.
Absolutely. I think that's the challenge with D2C brands. I mean, after we're through that rush of capital and excitement about D2C, and the Thrasio models are all kind of not succeeded to the level they had expected to. I think D2C brands are gonna have to piggyback on some of the existing channels, whether it's through retailers or through the marketplaces, and drive social traffic through that. Because otherwise, fulfillment wise, they will not be able to retain those customers. The retention is going to be pathetic.
Yeah, yeah. Another way to think about it is there's a back end, which is all the capabilities that you've built to run your business. There's a front end, which is the store to reach your customer. And
Yeah.
that front end can be traditional e-commerce. It can be offline in the physical store itself. It can be
Mm.
social. It can be a third-party platform. If you've got kind of a common back end and then a unique front end, then I think you can easily create that connected experience. You can reach the customer in the way they want to be reached on the front end in the channel that
Mm.
they're shopping in, but you can still leverage the investments that you've made on the back end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Got it. So now let's go back to the question we were talking
Sure,
about.
sure. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
look at what.
I mentioned technology.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I think everybody's talking about AI these days, of course. I think I probably 80% of the conversations that I'm in, the topic comes up. And I think it's interesting to think about just, people's need to think about what's next in our journey to the future. What's next in the work that they do, and because the idea of artificial intelligence is something that's out there in media, and it's out
Mm-hmm.
there in things that we read and talk about. I think that's one of the reasons why it pops up all the time. But I'd like to boil it down to a few things to make sure that the work that people do in AI stays focused. Certainly,
Right.
there's a wide range of possibilities out there, and probably a number of them that I can't even think of, or will, I haven't even been thought of, and will be invented in the future. But from a retail standpoint, I like to think of insights, operations, operations efficiency, automation,
Mm-hmm.
and then innovation. And so insights, you can use these sorts of tools to look at data in ways that you may not be able to look at it today, and derive from that ways to either reach your customer in the relevant ways that we've talked about, or maybe to influence the things that you're buying and making for your customer, and the way that you're merchandising it into your channels. I think that being able to go deeper with analysis of your business and analysis of your customer is one of those things that AI can help us achieve. Okay. I mentioned operations and automation.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of either tasks for running a business or tasks for customers interacting with a business that can be automated. Uh, one of those ways that I've worked on in the past is automating things like meta tagging to improve SEO and drive new traffic. For a retailer, those are
Uh-huh.
very labor intensive, very manual tasks. I know there are a number of very labor intensive sorts of things that retailers do, either on the business or on the technology side, that if you're leveraging AI to automate those, obviously you can bring something to market faster.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can be more efficient in the way that you're operating your business, and the time and money savings that you can get there, you can start to invest in other parts of your business. So, I think the the various ways that we think about AI can be applied to help us to automate a lot of those sorts of things that are really just kind of the blocking and tackling, if you will, of running a
Mm-hmm.
business. Then innovation is really the thing that I mentioned earlier in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we haven't thought of, or that maybe we've thought of, but we haven't found a way to bring to life. And
Right.
that could be new channels for a customer to shop. That could be
Mm-hmm.
new content and experiences and new ways of delivering that content. I think that there are an endless number of possibilities. But I think investments in AI should certainly have a piece of it that is targeted towards those kind of new ways of running your
Mm-hmm.
business and new ways of reaching your customer. And it doesn't have to just be customer facing either. It can certainly be new and innovative ways to run pieces of your business that may not be the ones that you naturally think of when you think about innovation or innovative things to do with your business. But yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for modern technologies like that to help us reinvent the way that we run our business.
Got it.
So yeah, I think those are probably the three areas that my mind goes to when I'm thinking about new technology investments and new technology capabilities
Hmm.
that you might put in the AI bucket or you might put elsewhere.
Absolutely. Got it. Pralhad is using, I mean, Pralhad, our teams are using AI or
Yeah.
you want to just talk about a minute on that?
Yes. So I think 2 years back we started working with generative AI seriously. I mean, till then it was always idea that is out there that it's not going to happen. Like content writing is going to be a safe job, or uh, graphics design is going to be a safe job. So just 2 years back, when ChatGPT really hit uh, the market, and everyone just shocked that okay, this is really great. The content is as good as a human being. At least it's good enough. You might not have the most engaging or the most unique content, but it's really helpful for a e-commerce space, wherein where you're more concerned about the volume of content of the PDPs that you need to create, rather than, let's say, a conventional offline advertising where you're concentrating on campaigns to run. So we started working with tools and implemented them in our processes as well, and the results were fantastic. We nearly in every project that we deployed it in, we found at least 35 to 40% in gains in efficiency, and this is just on pure productivity. And it also reduced the manpower in terms of quality checks, because you're at least assured that the output coming from, let's say, any generative AI tool is grammatically correct. You can even prompt it to give you content that's geared to a particular target audience, right down to region specific. So whether it's US South, US East Coast, West Coast, what have you. So it's a really great game changer in terms of time savings, cost savings, and a whole lot of other things. And I think last year, I think Anurag, you would be much more better to explain it with the generative AI that we use for the photo shoots and other imagery, because that's also another interesting use case that we worked on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. I think content creation is
mm,
one of that's a big opportunity.
absolutely.
Knowing that retailers spend a lot of time in the kind of the branding and content that they put out there into their channels. I think AI technologies can help either enhance that or replace it and do it in a manner that isn't. I know the technologies are evolving, but doing it in a manner that still is genuine and authentic to the brand itself,
Mm,
and doesn't feel like it's totally computer generated, totally kind of washed, if you will. But yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity for retailers to get more efficient,
mhm.
but also get a lot further with reaching customers and creating different types of content that they can today.
Yeah, and what we're seeing on the photo shoots, as Pralad also said, that the use case emerged from if you're doing a social campaign, if you're doing Instagram campaigns, you may need 4 to 5 images per day. You need 4 to 5 creatives per day. You can't, what you run in the morning, you can't run that in the afternoon, and so on and so forth. And doing that in a traditional manner is just not possible. I mean, it's financially and operationally completely infeasible for a brand. I mean, even for large brands, it's going to be a massive challenge. For a small, mid-sized or a niche brand, it's just not going to work. That's where we are seeing that you take normal you shoot the product on a normal human being, and then you can modify those images to completely different formats because they're still recognizable as human. They, you can still
Mm.
compare them to source, but the output is so different. And then you can change the backgrounds, and you can change the look and feel of it. And the consumer who's seeing on it on Instagram is not the connoisseur, or not the critic who wants to say that I want to submit it for an award function. They're happy seeing it. So that is something that again has become a very powerful use case for
Yeah.
using generative AI.
I know,
But
I know, I know. You've shown me you Anurag, have shown me some of the things that you guys are doing, and
Yes, yes.
that's really interesting. I'm excited to see how you guys evolve that, and in a number of use cases that you're able to put into play. I think you guys are doing some really interesting work.
Yep, it's working out. I mean, we are hoping that we should be able to scale it over the next maybe a year, 12 months or so. We should be able to scale it more.
Great.
But one thing I was reading, I think I was reading some news article over the weekend, and apparently certain VCs have started cautioning. Maybe it's just a hedging strategy, I don't know, around Gen AI. Because what's happening is nobody has gone and cracked a use case or cracked use cases where they're actually making money
Mm.
significantly. It's still a lot of hype, it's still a lot of in experimentation phase. So and obviously the cost of doing AI is still very high. I mean, the cost of using a GPT, I think it's was some 20 seconds 20 cents per million tokens or something. I don't remember the exact number for for OpenAI or the other this one. But I think that's something which is people are kind of tempering their expectations of what could actually come out of AI. Again, to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, we in retail over the years love to chase the shiny object, if you will, the
Absolutely.
the topic of the day or the technology of the day, because it's fun to talk about it, especially for those of us who are technologists. But certainly, beyond the technology roles, people love to talk about what's the new thing that's being talked about, or what's the new thing that's being invented. The danger there is what you're calling out, which is if you go to make investments in that or spend some
Hmm.
time with those new capabilities without an idea of what you're trying to solve with it, then you can end up wasting a lot of time and money and missing the mark with it. So I'd
Yeah.
go back to the three things that I said earlier. If you can automate things and improve your operations, or if you can get better insights to reach your customers, or if you can create something that's kind of innovative and helps you to evolve your business or improve your business, then I think you're okay. But if you're taking the approach of I've got the solution, now I'm going to go look for a problem to solve, then I think you're going to end up wasting a lot of time and money with it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think those the strategies of what we are looking to do from it and what are we expecting have to be in place before any significant investments get committed. But yes, I think it has a lot of potential. So we'll see how that evolves.
Yeah,
All right. I
yeah,
think, gentlemen, we are near the end of the clock. So thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for your time. I think this was a fantastic conversation, and as all of us will keep clued into the uh, fashion industry as a whole, and US and international markets specifically to see how things evolve. Pralhad, thank you for joining, and guys, have a great evening, and I'll speak to you later.
great. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.